This video is going to cover the topic of measurement conversions. Be sure the date and topic are at the top of your page. And of course we need our essential question, which is how can proportions help us convert measurements? Sometimes we are given information in one unit, such as inches, and we need to convert or change the unit into something equivalent but measured in feet. After all, sometimes we need to compare lengths or sizes, and it's really easy to do that when it's the same unit, but it's not as easy when the units are different. Fortunately, proportions can help us convert measurements. Let me use a friendly example, one that we probably already know, using proportions to demonstrate this. We know that 12 inches is equivalent to 1 foot. And actually, that's sort of like a ratio, right? For every 12 inches that we have, we know that we also have 1 foot. So what if I need to know how many feet are equivalent to 48 inches? Well, we can use proportions to find that. Since I'm setting this up as a proportion, I'm going to make sure my units match. So 12 inches is on top and 1 foot is below. And I want to figure out how many how many feet there are in 48 inches. So I'm going to put my variable x to show that I am missing that information. And I can see that I have scaled up, right? I multiplied 12 by 4 to get 48. So I have 4 times as many inches. Therefore, I have 4 times as many feet. My missing variable x is 4 feet. So I know that 48 inches is equivalent to 4 feet, right? We might know that already, but it's a good way for me to demonstrate using proportions the setup and the process that we could go through to solve this. We can do this with many kinds of conversions. One that many of us have seen before is ounces and pounds. We know that there are 16 ounces for every 1 pound. And of course, I've written here pound with the abbreviation LB and ounces with the abbreviation OZ. With that information, I want to find out how many pounds are equivalent to 48 ounces. And I can use my proportion to find that. So I know I have 16 ounces for every 1 pound. And my job is to figure out if I have 48 ounces, how many pounds that would be. So again, this is set up as a proportion. So I can look and see how my proportion has been scaled. And I notice that 16 would have to multiply by 3 to get 48, because 48 divided by 3 gets us to 16. And that means I need to scale the rest of my proportion by 3 as well. So my variable x is equivalent to 3, which means that 48 ounces is the same as 3 pounds. Another common conversion is centimeters and meters, and I know that 100 centimeters is the same as 1 meter. Maybe I want to know how many centimeters are in 5.5 meters. Once again, I can set up my proportion, and I can say, oh, there are 100 centimeters in every 1 meter, and I am trying to find out how many centimeters there are in 5.5 meters. This time, I'm scaling up by something other than a whole number. I'm multiplying by 5.5, and I'm actually going to put this back into the multiplication symbol this way, because it can be a little tricky with my decimal and a dot representing multiply. So then I would have to do the same thing on the top. And from there I can see my missing value was 550 centimeters. So I know that 5.5 meters is equivalent to 550 centimeters. So I used my proportion to solve that. We're going to go ahead and do one last example. And this time I'll show you what we want to calculate, what we want to find, and then you can pause the video as you calculate. A piece of string is 7 inches long, and we want to know how long that string is in centimeters. And let me give you a heads up. 1 inch is equivalent to almost 2.5 centimeters. It's exactly 2 54/100 of a centimeter. So with that information, pause the video and see how many centimeters are in our string that is 7 inches long. How'd you do? Did you see that we scaled our ratio up by 7? I did, so I multiplied 2 54/100 by 7 to make the equivalent ratio. When I did that, I found out that 7 inches is equivalent or the same as 17 78/100 of a centimeter. So our essential question for the video, remember, was how we could use proportions to help us convert measurements. We tried a few examples with this, and we'll practice together in class more.